Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the video for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. My name is Ventus SGN. In this Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree build video guide, I'm going to give you my top 3 Greatkatana builds. The Greatkatana is a weapon that was added with the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. It is basically just a colossal katana. There are 3 of them in the game now. The basic Greatkatana that you can apply with Ashes of War and spells. Then there's the Dragon Hunter's Katana and Rakshasa's Greatkatana. In this video, I'm going to be showing you builds for the basic Greatkatana. Now, really quickly, before I do that, if you're new here, please do me a small favor and subscribe to the channel with notifications on for Elden Ring builds and guide videos. And after this video is over, head on over to my channel and check out my playlist for Elden Ring. Thank you, guys. Alright, so the first build I'm going to show you is a bleed build that centers around the Ash of War for Savage Lion's Claw. Savage Lion's Claw is an Ash of War that was added with Shadow of the Erdtree that is an upgrade to the Ash of War Lion's Claw from the base game. When you activate it, it launches your character into a front somersault slash with their weapon, and a second input does additional flip slashes. If you don't have the Savage Lion's Claw Ash of War yet, please see my quick video guide on how to get it. I'll have the thumbnail link to that video on the end screen of this video, so be sure to watch this video to the very end so you can get that link. Alright, so when it comes to your stats, this is going to be a Dexterity Arcane build, so you're going to want those 2 stats to be your highest. For your Vigor, it doesn't have to be super high, around 40 to 50. Your Mind should be decent because the Savage Lion's Claw costs 20 FP to use every time, with 10 more points for the follow-up attack. Strength can be as low as 14, which is the bare minimum for this weapon, but Dexterity should be around 55 to 60 range. You don't need any intelligence for this build, so literally I have mine at 9. Your faith should be right at 38, so you can use a few choice incantations, which I'm about to tell you about in just a second. And then your arcane should be up to around 60, so you can have a nice blood loss build-up score. Alright, so the talisman that you're going to want to use for this build is going to be the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, the Two-Handed Sword Talisman, and the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. The 4th talisman is going to be optional. Usually I reserve that for a boss-specific defense item. For your mixed wondrous physic, use the Stone Barbed Crack tier to help make stance breaking easier, and the Thorny Crack tier to boost excessive attack power. For armor, I'm wearing the full Rakshasa set because it boosts attack power, though it makes you take more damage than normal if you get hit. But so far, nothing's been able to kill me using this build going back through the base game. Incantations used with this build are Blessing of the Erdtree for healing over time, Golden Vow for increased attack and defense, Flame Grant Me Strength for more physical attack power, and then Black Flame's Protection for physical damage negation to help offset the weakness of Rakshasa's armor. For attack incantations, you can use whatever you like, though I rarely use any because I'm always using the Greatkatana in 2 hands to kill things. Now, the way that you're going to want to use this build in combat is very brain dead simple. Buff up and run straight at whatever you're fighting and spam Savage Lion's Claw. Usually after 2 full rotation of Savage Lion's Claw, whatever you're fighting should be staggered and blood loss unless it's a dragon, which usually it takes 3 times for them. Try this build out and let me know what you think. The second build I want to show you is one that I just used to get back to the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC for the 2nd time, and it's probably my favorite build to use so far. It uses pretty much the same stats as the first build because it is a bleed build, but instead of using the Savage Lion Strike Ash of War, instead use the Ash of War for spinning Gravity Thrust. And if you do change anything with your stats, I'd say give yourself maybe 10 more points of HP and take 10 away from your Dexterity or your Arcane. This Ash of War has to be hands down the most broken Ash of War in the game to date. What it does is when you cast it, your character floats up and spins like a corkscrew into your locked on target, dealing continuous attacks, and you can spend even more FP to stay in the air and do another spin attack. What's more is that you use poise through the entire thing to not be interrupted while doing this, so you basically tank through whatever your target is doing and still get to deal damage with spinning Gravity Thrust. Just make sure you put it on the blood or bleed affinity. Now, if you don't have this Ash of War, I have a full video detailing how to get it, and it will be thumbnail linked on the end screen of this video. Even if you don't use this Ash of War with this specific build, you need to get this Ash of War if you don't already have it because it is broken. Alright, so the only thing that changes from this build from the last build are the talisman, the physic, and the armor. So for the talisman, run the Dragon Crest talisman to give you a bit more physical protection, the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Shard of Alexander, and the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. For the armor, use something that offers you a bit of protection with the White Mask. I finally settled on the Armor of Solitude from the new Shadow of the Erdtree DLC because the chest gives you 18.7 physical protection while giving a good boost to poise as well. The White Mask also increases your attack power with blood loss. For For the physic, use the Opaline Hard tier and the Opaline Bubble tier. These two together give you ridiculous damage negation for a little bit and allows you to hit that first spinning gravity thrust on whatever you're fighting fearlessly. Using this build in combat is as brain dead easy as the first build. Just run straight at your target and spam the Ash of War as much as possible. But be careful because you will still lose health while using it, but usually 2 full rotations of this Ash of War set to the bleed affinity is enough to stagger almost anything in the game, so long as you have the health to tank the hits. And the final build of the video is another really overpowered build that I have a lot of fun using that's great for both zone clearing and boss fighting. It's not a bleed build this time, but a fire build, and it centers around using the Ash of War for Flame Strike. Flame Strike is one of the most overpowered Ashes of War in the game because it allows you to charge up what essentially is a heavy attack and add fire, so it can be powered up by a lot of different factors. Now, if you don't have the Ash of War for Flame Strike yet, please see the video that's going to be thumbnail linked with the others on the end screen of this video for full details and a complete walkthrough on how and where to get it. Once you have it, set it to the Flame Art affinity on your Greatkatana for the most fire damage. Now, this build is going to be slightly different than the others, so a stat change is needed. Health and endurance can stay the same, around the 45 to 50 range on both. Strength, again, is going to be the bare minimum for this weapon of 14 because it has higher dex scaling, which means more overall damage with dex, so make sure your dex is super high, around 55 to 60. Intelligence can be as low as 9, but your faith needs to be your highest stat, like 60 or higher. Arcane can be as low as your intelligence as well this time. For the armor, I'm wearing the full Fire Knight set with the Winged Serpent's Helm. The Winged Serpent's Helm enhances Fire Knight skills. But for better results, however, you can use Rakshas's armor, chest, arms, and legs with the Winged Serpent's helmet. For Talisman, use the Fire Scorpion Charm, the Godfrey Icon, the Shard of Alexander, and the Axe Talisman. Now, if you do want to swap one of these out for a defensive talisman, it would probably be the Fire Scorpion Charm because wearing the Fire Scorpion Charm, you take a little bit more damage, and I don't really want to take more damage when I use this, so whenever I use this build and I'm fighting bosses and the boss is kind of whooping me, I will take out the Fire Scorpion Charm and use something that's a little bit more defensive. In the mixed physic, use the Flame Shrouding Crack tier and the Spiked Crack tier. For incantations, use the same buff spells as before: Golden Vow, Blessing of the Erdtree, Flame Grant Me Strength, and Black Flame's Protection. Also though, with this build, a few incantations, attack incantations, can work really well. Fighting R'hllana, the Flame of the Fell God seemed to stagger her when she stepped in the flames, allowing me to get a few fully charged flame strikes off on her. Now, this build in boss combat is not so brain dead easy as the others, but it still kinda is. With this, you can't just ignore attacks and blindly spam the Ash of War. You'll have to find ways to get it in. Usually, I let my Spirit Ashes attract boss aggro, and once it has the aggro, I will spear thrust away with the Flame Strike Ash of War. Now, what's cool about this Ash of War is that you don't actually have to make contact on your target with your Greatkatana. When you use this Ash of War, a spear of literal fire extends from the tip of the weapon and reaches towards your target. You still do get better results though if you're as close as possible to your target so that the Greatkatana does strike them. This build doesn't stagger enemies as easily as the others, but it does a crap ton of damage, taking chunks off of whatever you're fighting because of all the enhancements. Alright guys, and that's going to be it for this build video. If it was helpful, please drop a like. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.